Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This time I'm going to teach you how to make roti, at least the way that I make it, the way that I was taught to make it. So what you need is a bowl, a sieve, I'm not sure how to say that, and flour, water, and rolling pin. Optional, you can also have salt and oil. So because our bowl is not big enough, I actually have to use a cup when I'm sifting this flour and kind of do it like this. If our bowl was bigger, we'd be able to just use this thing the way you're supposed to, but this is what we do because our bowl is small. So just sift the flour into a bowl. I don't measure it because I was never taught to measure it. I never learned that way. I just kind of know how much I need. So I'm sorry if you came here for an exact recipe. I'm sure I'll link a sensible one in the description below, but I don't have measurements. So when I have the flour in the bowl, like I said, some people like to use salt and some people like to use oil or both. When I'm making roti, I don't actually use salt or oil. I only use that when I'm making parathe. But it's up to you if you want to. You can add the salt to the flour, mix it up, and then add some oil to that as well. Just a little. But I'm not using it today, so let's move on. Okay, I'm going to take some of this flour out for the dusting. Make a little well in the middle. And then add my water. I'm going to do it a little at a time. I'm kind of used to how much water it takes, but not everybody is, so you'll need to add a little bit at a time until you get the right consistency. And the consistency you're looking for is you don't want the dough to be sticky. It doesn't, when it sticks to your palm, it just kind of lightly sticks. It doesn't leave any residue on you. So you don't want it to be too soft and you don't want it to be too hard. Those are things that will make for bad roti. When I knead the dough, I don't use my fingertips to press into the dough. I used to, but I learned in India from my husband and his family to use your palm to press into the dough. Fold it under with your fingers or over, and then just use your palm to press it down and knead the dough that way. It's so much easier. I'm going to continue kneading the dough until it's as soft as I want it to be. It's kind of hard right now because it's not all mixed together, so I'm going to continue kneading it. And notice how it doesn't at all stick to the counter. That's exactly what you want. Right now, my dough is still a little too hard for me, so I'm going to cover it and wait about 15 minutes. Not a lot of people do this step. My husband's family doesn't, but it's actually a good trick. If it's just slightly too hard, now it's as soft as it needs to be. I also don't use any measurement when I do this. I know what I'm doing. This is how I was taught. I just pull off a small piece and roll it up into a disc in between my palms, like that. And a lot of people will split the dough in half and then in half again and then in half again to ensure that they have even pieces, and that's just not really practical in an Indian household. It's not done. So I just pull it apart as I see fit, kind of measure it myself, and roll it in between my palms and make disc shapes out of all of the pieces. Some of them are slightly bigger than the other ones. It's not perfect, but that's not the point. Sometimes at the end I do have a little bit of dough left over, and I make a very tiny roti out of that, and I call it the choti roti, which means small roti. I'm going to put my flour back into the bowl so that it doesn't make the counter a huge mess when I do the whole dusting process. So I'm going to take one of the discs, I'm going to drop it in the flour, roll it around, and roll it on the sides to make sure that every side is covered. Not a heavy coating, just a light coating. Notice how I roll this. I'm not a professional, let me just say. My husband can roll this without having to pick up and move the roti, but I can't. I'm not that good yet, so I have to pick up and slightly turn my roti as I'm rolling it. In the middle of rolling this roti, by the way, if it gets sticky and starts sticking to the counter, it's going to get all misshapen, and that's not something we want. So after rolling it a few times, if it starts to get a little sticky, you're going to want to put it back in the flour and throw it back on the counter, and just make sure it's coated lightly with the flour so that it doesn't stick to the counter. This is how we're able to maintain that circular shape. Right now, I'm not rolling for size. I'm just making sure all the edges are even. So I'm just rolling out the edges and making sure everything's smooth and even. Now I should have done this part while I was rolling, or right before rolling. I should have turned on the stove. But the way I was maneuvering my camera, it was almost impossible to do that beforehand. So, yeah, I'm doing it now. Ideally, you want to have the pan all heated up and ready by the time you're finished rolling the first roti. This is called a tawa. You want to wait until it's hot before you put the roti on, or the roti will get dry and hard. And while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and start the next roti. Roll it out in the same way. That's my roti container, by the way. When I'm finished cooking a roti, I'll put it right in that container. I didn't get a chance to record that, but I just wanted to show you what it looked like. As the roti cooks, while I'm rolling the next roti, it starts to get a little bubbles on the top. You can check it underneath to see if it has light brown spots. If it does, even if they're a little dark, it's time to flip it over. And when you flipped it over, it's going to cook for like just a fraction of the time. And at that point, you want to take it off the tawa and put it on the fire if you're using a gas flame. and just cook it on one side, cook it on the next. You just basically want to make sure that there's no uncooked parts, and sometimes that's the sides. So what I'll do is just rotate the roti on the tawa and fire and cook the edges. You'll start to notice bubbles forming on the top. It'll start to change color slightly to a lighter color. It'll look a little dry. At that point, you're going to want to check underneath and see if it has spots, if it's ready. And if it is, flip it over. Wait a few seconds because it doesn't take long on the next side. And then cook it over the flame. It's really easy to do once you're in the practice of doing it. I do it for my husband every night for dinner. Me and him both eat roti, sabji, whatever. So I'm in practice, and in order to get better, you have to practice. And that might mean that your roti look misshapen and they look like countries instead of circles. So you're going to have to practice to work it out and make your roti look better. But it is achievable. It's something you'll have to do every day, but it's doable. Even mine aren't as good as I'd like for them to be. I still think my husband makes better roti, but he likes mine. I like mine, they're okay. Anyway, it's time for the last roti, the choti roti. This one doesn't take very long to cook. It's pretty small. While it's cooking, I put all the extra flour back and anything else, clean up the counter. But there you have it. There's the making roti tutorial. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something. I hope I could teach you something useful. Thank you for watching. Bye.